Hello, I'm Ruth Godfrey from the University of Leicester Botanic Garden, and this video is about animal life cycles and plant reproduction. You'll learn about the differences in life cycles between different animals and also about life cycles in plants, both sexual and asexual. Some useful vocabulary is metamorphosis, which is a dramatic or structural change from an animal's young form to an adult, for example, a caterpillar to a butterfly, and fertilization, that's the joining of the male and female parts, and this is true in both animals and plants. Other words such as germination, pollination, and seed dispersal you'll have come across before, but there's reminders of these in the video. Mammals, which include humans, give birth to live young. These young look like a small version of the adult. The young start by getting their food from their mother in the form of milk. This is true for land-based mammals such as dogs and also water-based mammals such as dolphins. Birds lay eggs. These eggs hatch and when the young grow into adults, as you see in the examples of the chicken and the sparrow. However, don't be confused. If you eat hen eggs, these are not fertilised. For there to be a young chick inside, then a male chicken known as a cockerel must have fertilised the eggs. Reptiles also lay eggs. The young hatch looking like a small version of the adult and then grow to adulthood. See the example of the snake. The turtle, although it spends most of its life at sea, comes onto the shore to bury her eggs under the sand. When the eggs hatch, the young turtles then move down to the beach and back to the sea. Amphibians such as frogs and newts also lay eggs. However, unlike reptiles, these are laid in water and there is an additional development stage. For example, frog eggs hatch into tadpoles, the larval stage, and then the metamorphosis occurs for them to change from a tadpole to a frog. Young newts, known as efts, develop legs and then into adults. As amphibians start their life in water, they have gills to enable them to breathe underwater. As part of the metamorphosis process, the gills are reabsorbed and they develop lungs to enable them to live on land as adults. Both toads and salamanders are also amphibians that are pictured and have similar life cycles. Fish also lay eggs and have a larval stage, which are known as fry. However, in the animal groups mentioned so far, fertilization, the male sperm coming together with the female egg, occurs inside the body of the female. Male fish externally fertilize the female's eggs. The female releases eggs into the water and the male waits and then releases sperm and fertilizes the eggs. There are several groups of invertebrates and therefore have different life cycles. For example, spiders lay eggs, small spiderlets hatch and grow to adult spiders. Mollusks such as snails lay eggs and small snails hatch that grow into adult snails. Worms lay eggs that are protected in a cocoon and when the conditions are right, the young worms hatch. Crustacea such as crabs hatch from eggs. Then they have two extra separate young stages that look different from the adult crab before becoming a young adult. Insects will be looked at now in more detail. You'll be familiar with the butterfly life cycle. The adult butterfly lays eggs which developed into caterpillars, which is the larva stage. Then the caterpillar forms a cocoon and inside metamorphosis takes place and the caterpillar changes into a butterfly. Therefore, there are 4 development stages: egg, larva, pupal, adult. The ladybird on the right also has 4 stages: adult, eggs, instars, which are the larva stage, and then the orange pupa. Instars are one of the development stages, but as they grow, they shed their outer skin several times, which is shown on the picture. Both these show complete metamorphosis. Grasshoppers and dragonflies are examples of insects' life cycles that are incomplete metamorphosis with only 3 stages: adult, egg, and a young nymph. There is no pupa. The metamorphosis occurs inside the nymph, and when ready, the nymph case is shed and the adult emerges. All stages of the grasshopper life cycle occur on land. For the dragonfly, the egg and nymph stages are in the water, and this can take up to 5 years. Then when the adult dragonfly emerges, it cannot go back into the water and lives only a few more days or weeks. A reminder of the flowering plant life cycle. The seed germinates, which is on the bottom of the picture on the diagram. It starts to shoot, grows roots, gets bigger, and eventually makes flowers. Most flowers contain male and female parts. The male parts produce pollen, which has to be carried to the female parts. The arrival of pollen on the female part is called pollination. This leads to fertilization and the formation of seeds. Seeds are scattered or dispersed to places where they can get enough light and water to grow. In the picture of the tulip underneath the diagram, the male and female parts of the flower can be clearly seen. The male parts are called stamens. These are like little sticks with bags on the top. The bags are called anthers and they contain the pollen. The female parts are made up of the chamber or ovary, which contains unfertilized seeds or ovules. At the top, this chamber narrows into a tube called a style. And on the top of the style is a special, often sticky place where the pollen lands. This is the stigma. The pollen goes down the style and into the ovary to fertilize an ovule. And remember, pollination, the moving of pollen from the anthers to the stigma of another flower, can be moved by insects, including bees, bats, butterflies, and some birds, and also by the wind. A reminder that seed dispersal is where the seeds are moved away from the parent plant to places where they have room and enough light to grow. Seeds can be carried by animals, being hidden and forgotten, such as squirrels, sticking on fur, as you can see on the picture of the dog, eaten by birds and then being released in their poo, drop and roll, where the seed is round and rolls away, or carried by water, such as coconut, or exploding, such as the pictured Himalayan balsam. Wind can also carry seeds, and there are many different adaptations to wind dispersal. For example, parachutes like the dandelion, or wings like the sycamore, or shakers like the poppy. However, not all plants are flowering plants. Several groups do not make flowers. For example, conifer trees have cones instead. The pine on the right-hand side has two cones in the same picture, the hard woody female one and the soft male one with the pollen. Once the male cone has released the pollen, it withers away, but the female cone can last for years. The diagram to the left on the picture shows the inside of the female cone containing the ovules. Once these have been fertilized by the pollen, they become seeds. The picture with the brown-orange background shows the female cone with the fully formed seeds that are then dispersed by the wind. Other groups that don't have flowers, or indeed cones, are ferns and mosses. These groups don't even make seeds. In ferns, spores form on the underside of the leaves and are then released. They are simpler than seeds. They grow into small button-shaped plants called a gametophyte, rather than a new fern. The gametophyte produces a female egg and male sperm. Where water is present, the sperm swim to join with the egg, and once fertilized, a new fern can grow. Mosses also produce spores, but these are contained in small bags on the end of upright stems. The picture shows spores being released. These also grow into gametophyte stage. All the green leafy moss shoots you see around on rocks and in woods are gametophytes. If successfully fertilized, new stalks with bags of spores are produced. However, both mosses and ferns can also reproduce without the need for fertilization, and this is called asexual reproduction. If parts of a moss plant are broken off, these can grow into a new plant. Ferns grow modified stems underground called rhizomes. If part of the rhizome is broken down away from the parent plant, then this can grow independently. In the next part of this video, we will look into more detail at asexual reproduction in plants. So asexual reproduction is reproduction where male and female parts do not need to join to form new plants. As shown on the slide, there are corms, bulbs, rhizomes, tubers and stolons, which are also known as runners, all of which allow the plant to make new plants, that is, reproduce, without the need for fertilization. There are also artificial methods that people have used to grow new plants. For example, the willow fence pictured has not been grown from seeds. Branches are being cut from an adult willow tree, then these branches are being planted in the ground. These then are able to form roots and new shoots from the branches and start growing. Bluebells, which are pictured here, that form a mass of blue in Maine, are British woodlands, and many also of our spring garden flowers, such as tulips, daffodils, irises and hyacinths, are all pictured grown from bulbs. Bulbs are made of short underground stems surrounded by modified leaves. They can grow into new plants when conditions are right. Onions are bulbs, and when you peel an onion you can see the layers, which are the modified leaves. The lower picture shows bulbs, in this case onions, forming new bulbs on the side. These can then be broken off and will grow into separate plants the following year. Corms look like bulbs, but they are just fat and swollen underground stem without any leaves. However, it can be confusing, as shops sometimes call these bulbs when selling them. Banana, crocus and gladioli, all pictured, have corms. Strawberries, mint and spider plants all send out runners or stolons. These are above ground stems that reach out beyond the parent plant and can root and grow separately. Once established, the new plants can grow without the modified stem attached to the parent plant. Rhizomes are modified underground stems which are able to put up shoots of new plants. Ferns mentioned earlier, dandelions, primroses, ginger and bamboo, all can grow like this. Tubers are very swollen ribosomes that also act as food storage and can sprout later even when completely separated from the parent plant. Have you ever found new sprouts coming from potatoes? Potatoes are tubers. Cassava and dahlia flowers also form tubers. New trees that grow from root branches are known as suckers. On the picture shown there is a large parent tree behind the wall. In front of the wall are all suckers or new trees from the roots of the parent plant. Earlier in this video it's mentioned that willow branches can be cut, planted and they will grow. Lavender and rose are pictured here. Not all plants will do this, and sometimes they need a hormone rooting powder added to encourage the cutting to put down roots. Layering is like creating artificial runners, pegging down a branch or stem and using hormone rooting powder to encourage it to put down roots. The men pictured have put hormone rooting powder into a bag round a lychee tree branch. Once the roots have formed, this can then be grown as a new lychee plant. Grafting is where part of a plant is cut, often a fruit tree, and tied to another tree in such a way that the two join together and grow as a single plant. Orange, lemon, plum, cherry and apple trees can all be successfully grafted. The cherry trunk pictured shows the V of the graft cut and how both parts have grown together. The result shown is two different coloured blossoms on the same plant. All these pictures were taken at the University of Leicester Botanic Garden. There are wild animals and birds such as squirrels, newts and many insects. Can you see the different reproduction stages of the plants shown?